Well, STEAM is a new idea. It was born out of STEM, so where we have science, technology, engineering, and math, and there was a big push from the arts community to get art in there as well, simply because art in many ways can be science, and it brings more of the collaboration between those sciences and art as well into one atmosphere. So that's the birth of STEAM.
STEM and STEAM are terms that refer to lessons and activities that help students develop inquiry and design skills. When students practice art, over time their skills improve. When students go to art class, they do art. When students do STEM and STEAM lessons, they are doing inquiry and they are doing design, and over time their skills improve. My wish is that students see science as inquiry and engineering as design. Science is inquiry, engineering is design, and both of these are incredibly creative processes. Our job at Stone Ridge is to help our students develop a range of skills that include intellectual skills, artistic skills, communication skills, leadership skills, and at Stone Ridge, we do STEM and STEAM lessons to help our students develop inquiry and design skills.
This year at Stone Ridge, we opened our first makerspace. We named it the Applied Creativity Center. This space houses basic garage tools, simple machining tools, 3D printers, and a whole host of digital media equipment such as video cameras, a green screen, and video editing software to create digital productions. The point of this space is to allow students, teachers, and classes to utilize this area and the materials within it to design and to be engineers in order to show their learning in their projects. The lower school, for example, has an after-school club called the Fabrication Lab, or Fab Lab. And in this club, the students get together to design and build using various materials to complete challenges. The students in their curriculum also use a design tool to design 3D objects and then print them on our 3D printers to show their learning. In the middle school, we have a technology and innovation class which does coding, uses basic Web 2.0 tools, and they take those tools to their core classes to integrate them into their projects. A neat example of upper school integration of the makerspace is our French teacher collaborated with the upper school educational technologists to create on the 3D printers a topographic map of France. We also have a middle school and an upper school robotics club run out of this space. The maker movement is the epitome of STEAM and STEM education.
Well, I think we have the advantage being technologists that we get to work with teachers of all different subject areas and helping them weave technology into those areas. And with our tech sessions, for example, we can see teachers once a rotation where we can introduce different tools and ideas to those teachers, kind of train them, get them comfortable using those tools, and then they can go back to their classrooms and then integrate it into the curriculum that they're following. Yep.
So as the lower school librarian, I try to incorporate a STEM project in at least every unit at every grade level, just to give the girls an opportunity to see the connection and the interrelatedness between science and literature, and also for them to come up with real-world solutions to real-world problems.
The first graders are learning about technologies, and we like to give them as many opportunities to actually be engineers as possible. So we thought, let's give them a challenge and let's have them come up with a solution to take a message from one place to another.
And the girls worked in cooperative groups with a limited amount of supplies, a variety of supplies, but limited. And we left the solution of the problem completely open-ended and up to their creativity. I think for some of the girls, they were also willing to evaluate their designs throughout the process and see what worked and what didn't work. So there seemed to be a lot of good give and take between the girls.
So today in mathematics, our young mathematicians were using apple boxes to explore the big idea of equivalence and different combinations that make up 10. and they had been tasked with helping Sally, our supermarket manager, to decide how many different combinations of green and red apples, mixed boxes she could have where the box fit 10 apples. And so the students set to work with their math partner investigating the different combination boxes that you could make with the green and red apples. And so art came into this endeavor because they were using a model and modeling out the boxes they could make and using that visual model to help them construct an understanding of some of the equivalencies and combinations that they were exploring in the apple boxes problem.
In the 7th grade right now, we're working on 2 projects. One of them is a cooking project where students are in the kitchen and we're using math with respect to proportions and relationships and recipes. And then the other one is a wall project, the one we're working on right now. And that has to do with, our objective is to create a community garden in the end. And the girls are using their math skills and problem solving skills in order to create this garden. The students are excited, they're empowered, they're excited that they are problem solving, using their math skills for real world situations. They're using art, they're using technology all in one. They're outside of the classroom. They're excited that it's student centered. They're learning their own autonomy. They're learning how to be independent thinkers and learners. All the soft skills that they're learning are skills that they're going to use in life. They're going to use in the workforce. They're going to use outside of school. So some of the soft skills are communication, innovation, ingenuity.
7th and 8th grade science classes get to compete in a science competition every April to design and build their own project utilizing materials that they've collected at home. They can work individually or in a group. It relies on their mechanical science skills and engineering skills. And the projects include things such as an electric car, toothpick bridges, egg catapults, gliders, kites, the classic egg drop. The 8th grade are also allowed to do rafts. So these students actually build these projects totally on their own. They are required to design their own blueprints with dimensions, as well as in the 7th grade they complete a multimedia project, research project related to the project that they built. And in the 8th grade they do a collaborative English science research paper associated with the project that they built. I think the STEAM project, in terms of the science competition, relates to the Stone Ridge experience on a variety of levels. Certain projects match up with Goal 3 in the sense that they are only allowed to use recyclable materials, especially in the way of the egg drop. In addition, Goal 2, lifelong love of learning and a personal growth of learning, I think also allows them to really experiment with their own ideas. Finally, Goal 5, personal growth in an atmosphere of wise freedom, the girls really own this project and they own the final outcome, and it teaches them how to manage their time and utilize their resources to the best of their ability.
A STEAM project that we have going on for our first academic students is a cross-curricular initiative between the physics and the Foundations of Studio Art classes. And one of the projects that we are doing that connects those two classes is we are creating films using sound. So we start by creating a sound collage as a follow-up to the physics unit on sound waves. The girls are asked to include in this sound collage an example of a reflected sound, like an echo. Using these concepts that they've learned in physics, they create a sound collage that's both interesting and composed in an artistic way, and is a sort of way of using creative problem solving, but also reinforcing what they're learning in physics. One of the most amazing connections that I've seen was when a girl was presenting her single object still life painting, and she was explaining how light interacted with her object, which was a prompt that I gave them. But she was talking about transparency and how some light was reflected and other light went through. And I realized that these were, concepts she had picked up in physics.
Students in my honors British literature class engage in a STEAM project related to John Milton's epic Paradise Lost. I had actually thought of the idea a few years ago in a collaboration with Joanna Cottle, who's the upper school science chair, and thought it would be really interesting to see the connections between the scientific correlations in Paradise Lost. And we just thought it would be really interesting to have the girls engage in the material in a way that's interactive and focused on exploration and discovery to really help an old epic come to life. The STEAM project we do, I think, enhances the experience because students are able to pursue their own passions. I encourage them to look at science, but I also have students who are making historical connections and then using technology and animation to bring their findings to life, which then really makes it STEAM. Or students will look at free will or predestination and bring in things that they're learning in theology or ideas that they're interested in. So I think it caters to goal 2. It really does encourage a deep respect for intellectual values, and goal 5, because they are experiencing a lot of personal growth.
The STEAM project that really came about as an effort on my part to incorporate the notion of an hour of code. In close collaboration with Jason Rosenberg, he and I came up with an idea. At that time, we were studying the Byzantine Empire, and I like to spend some time with students looking at art and architecture of that period. And so Jason and I came up with this idea of building a visual timeline. He helped build a couple of spreadsheets for students to do their inputs, and then these inputs magically appeared on this Google timeline. It was really, really wonderful. This project required students to take some risks with their learning, and I watched as students began to do this, and there was some discomfort because they kept wanting to know, well, what was the right answer? What should we put in the timeline? What picture should we use? And of course, for them, they could choose from any number of pictures and images that they found. And so to me, that spoke to risk-taking, which I think is really an important part of the Stone Ridge educational experience.
We do a number a number of projects over the course of the year in our Physics 1 course. And our culminating project involves the use of a microcontroller unit called an Arduino as an introduction to programming and making. And by making, I mean using technology to make a creative product. And we pair that with a subject that they're taking outside of science. So for example, we might ask girls, they pick 2 subjects out of the hat. So they'll pick a topic from physics, and then they pick a subject from one of their other courses. So an example was English and light. So the science topic is light, the other discipline is English, and some girls had just finished reading Jane Eyre, and so they wanted to program the Arduino controller to light up a circuit of LED lights and a poster that depicted Rochester and Jane under an apple tree. And then they used red LED lights to light up love as symbolic of the scene when Rochester proclaims his love to Jane. This project also puts girls in an uncomfortable position of not knowing a whole lot about how to program an Arduino, not knowing a huge amount about circuits, and yet they're being tasked with making something. There is no right answer to the project that we've assigned. And most problems that are worth solving, there isn't an easy answer to that problem. And so this project and other projects that we do, I think, is really what we're about at Stone Ridge. We try to prepare girls to be leaders in the future. These are the leaders that are going to take on those challenging problems.
The STEM certificate program at Stone Ridge is an opportunity to introduce our students to the world of STEM outside of Stone Ridge. There are so many opportunities in the DC area, and this program helps our students to find those opportunities and make the best use of the area that they live in, and helps them to grow in their skill set. Internships are typically done either at NIH or USIS by Walter Reed, and then various hospitals such as Children's Hospital.
My favorite component probably of the Science Certificate program was my internship this summer. I worked at NIH in the Eye Institute, and I was given my own project, which was to analyze a multifunctional protein in the retina of human eyes. Another thing that I learned that I think I can attribute to the STEM certificate program was learning how to manage a group of people. For example, on my robotics team last year, I was tasked with helping direct and conceptualize the robot that we created, which is a skill that is important to have, and I think I'll definitely be able to utilize in college or even after that.
At Stone Ridge for the past few years, we have been introducing our girls to the tech shop in Arlington, where they learn to be engineers through the process of interfacing with experts in the industry of making and creating. And they get to learn from these experts how to use different type of machinery, workshop tools such as the sawmill, laser cutters, Dremels, 3D printers, the entire works. And by the end of their program at the tech shop, they are asked to create a product. And we wanted to expose our girls to a world of making. This collaboration between Stone Ridge and the tech shop has not only given them an opportunity to be engineers, but also for them to interface with people out in the world actually creating these things. So when they make decisions about their career and their college majors, they have this experience to lean on.
The really interesting and exciting thing about the tech shop is that this is an opportunity for the students to really create something completely and totally on their own. In a typical class, there's a curriculum whereby there's a set agenda of things that need to be covered, and with the tech shop class, the students are able to really decide whatever way they want to go. The interesting thing is that the students learn so much about things like teamwork and what to do when things went wrong, that they hadn't anticipated. So while they benefited from learning about all of the equipment and learning about the engineering design process, they also benefited greatly in learning life skills.
The Tech Shop is a summer class program where we were able to utilize the engineering and design process, where we were tasked with creating 2 different prototypes. And our group came up with the lefty desk attachment and the tri-wheel or tri-way bicycle, basically. My favorite experience was by far taking all the classes, whether it was the soldering class or the welding class or the wood shop or metal shop. I had so much fun learning how to use the different machinery and just basically creating what we wanted to create. In the tech shop, there were many mathematical components as well as artistic components. Artistically speaking, our WordPress blogs that we updated daily or pretty much regularly kind of documented our progress that we made throughout the days as long as the weeks, and that we basically included pictures of our designs and diagrams and all that stuff that we had created. And then mathematically speaking, there was actually a lot of math that went into it when it came to designing the prototypes. We had to figure out, I guess, how long certain parts were, as well as how they would kind of fit in together. We had to figure out a bunch of different angles as to how to weld certain things, because that was very difficult, but it was a lot of fun, and I think it was a very rewarding experience.
When I think of creative minds, I think of the actors and the musicians and the artists and the poets and the writers among us, but I also think of the scientists and the engineers. Our job at Stone Ridge is to help our students develop the skills that enable them to be successful in whatever their chosen path is.
I am a scientist, engineer, artist, mathematician, and I use technology to demonstrate my learning every day. I think outside the box, and I apply my skills to real-world problems. I am a Stone Ridge girl.